shit, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing out there? This is Intergalactic Interviews, and this is episode 105. Or is it 105? We won't know until 110, folks. That's when you get the real way to say that. Hey, how's it going? I'm going to fix this mic. Did you have a good week last week? We had a great time with Rammer from EA Sports. That was awesome. You know who else is having a great time? The staff at Float House right now, because it is a staff party. And man, it smells great in here. It's pretty awesome. We love those guys. And you know what? You should check out Float House because we have a great introductory offer. You know what that offer is? It's amazing. If you go to floathouse.ca right now, what can happen, Saavedra?
Oh, well, you can take 20% off of your next float.
That's exactly right. Man, I'm so glad I didn't just hit you over the head with that by accident. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
Yeah.
Guys, I've never floated in my whole life.
You've never floated?
No.
Our guest today, Chris Griffin's never
floated.
floated.
Could I get 20% off?
You certainly get 20% off.
Could.
Maybe I'll even help you out a little bit more than that, I think. You're a friend of the show. I think we can sort you out. But tell you what, though, if you use the podcast promo code IIPodcast, you get 20% off your first float, which is a great value because I think you can sign up for memberships for like $39 a month, which gets you one float a month. I think that's the deal.
I think that's the deal for sure.
Is it for sure?
Yep.
Because sometimes I make up deals on here and then I get text after and they're like, that's not the deal. And then I was like, I felt like the deal, you know. So just think, well, let's run with that was the deal. So if you get 20% off your first float, just use our podcast promo code IIPodcast. Maybe you guys are wondering at this point in the ad, because I haven't mentioned it yet, what the hell is this place? Float House is the premier destination for isolation float experiences. What is that? That's an isolation float tank. It was invented by Dr. John C. Lilly, I believe was his name. And he was a pioneer in isolation tanks and very, very brilliant man. And he was crazy, but he was awesome. And this technology is now so prolific. It's in the NFL, the NBA. It's in like massive sports, Fortune 500 companies. Everyone who's Gastown, people that want to use it, you know, in that order. People that use it swear by it. We float. You should float. Chris Griffin's going to float. He's going to
try
love
it out.
Yeah. And we think you should check out floathouse.ca right now. The thing I like about it the most is it's like a spa for your mind. That's what it's like. Ooh. Nice, right?
You've never said that before, actually.
Never. That's the first time. Yeah. Throwing that out there, yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Enough of that, because we know you guys are going to go check out floathouse.ca right now. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, he's a fantastic stand-up comedian. Somehow, we've never actually crossed paths, but we've been blessed with his presence today. He is the recent recipient and winner of the 2016 Yuk-Off in Vancouver here.
Did it, boys.
He did it.
The champ.
Hooray. Mama, I'm home.
He did it.
That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Chris Griffin.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
God damn. What's going on, sir?
Not much, man. Just basking in the glory.
Just casually winning Yuk-Offs.
Championship, yeah.
Yeah, usually they're championship caliber Chris Griffin.
It's gone to my head. But,
gone right to your head?
That was it was a cool thing.
Yeah, I heard you're an overnight elitist now. Is that true?
It's getting to me. Yeah. Well, I mean, comedy, like, it beats you up so much that when you get something, you're just like, let's rub this in for 3 weeks.
It's like like an awful seesaw of ego where you're just like, just getting beaten down by the daily grind of entertainment.
Except the seesaw, the other person's way heavier than you. And then once they let you up for a second, and then, like, that's
they
it.
jump.
Yeah. You're like, I'm doing this. Shit, yeah.
Let me down.
Yeah. Just constant wedgie, but it's good, man.
Well, that's awesome, though. What a hell of a grind, though. How long was the comp overall? How many weeks was that?
Man, it's long. I think it was like 97 weeks or something like that.
9 or 7?
97.
97 weeks?
Yeah,
I was going to say, I thought that you said 97.
What?
No, it was, it started like, I don't even remember, but it was the whole summer.
That doesn't seem possible.
But it honestly was, I think, 80-something or 90-something comedians. Like, it was a lot.
That's a massive commitment in the fact that, like, if you're on the road frequently, or you know, just booking elsewhere or whatever for anything, even like TV spots or anything like that, you have to just say like, okay, I have to be available during this time.
The funniest thing about the competition is it ran forever, but the night you perform is pretty much preliminary, semis, finals. So I just scheduled around that, and I was like, let's go with this. Yeah, it worked out well.
Yeah, it wasn't like you're sitting by the phone waiting for the next round call. You're obviously working a lot, doing a lot of shows around here. I see Did my eyes fail me today, or did I see you're booked for the Hard Rock? Am I wrong for this?
Yeah, that's
wrong?
right.
Yeah.
Hard Rock.
Yeah, you're wrong. You're dead wrong.
No,
I love by the way, I love doing shows and just jumping in with no information and just like, yeah, this is what I remember. This is what social media
today.
taught
Yeah, yeah. No, Sonny Dollywall is a very funny comedian. Puts on some big shows there. He's not on that show.
Friend of the show, Sonny Dollywall.
Yeah.
God
It's
damn.
awesome. So it's Ron Josol, who's amazing, man. He's from LA, originally Canadian though, the best. And then Patrick Maliha, fantastic. Brett Martin, and then I'm just jumping on the show too. But yeah, it's a good show. I think
Sounds
that's
good, man. Yeah.
October 9th or whatever. Yeah.
October 9th at the Hard Rock.
Sunday, so then it's a long weekend. So then you can just be drunk for Thanksgiving or whatever people do.
It's my normal move.
Chris Griffin knows how to sell a turkey smoothie. He knows. I got turkey shooters, guys. Okay,
Yeah, that's my act.
Yeah.
Well, the Hard Rock have Thanksgiving dinner that night.
That's right.
I don't know.
A Hard Rock, like a.
I bet they will.
I'm gonna guess no, but maybe.
Maybe during the day or during the next day. I don't know.
Steamed
So you
ham,
sleep over.
Seymour.
Yeah.
Fucking yeah. You know what? I was gonna say, what the fuck was I gonna say? I haven't seen Brett Martin in actually a long time. So when you mentioned him I haven't seen him actually since he's done the show. Like probably almost 2 years now. Rather than see him, but I saw.
Man.
I saw he's doing some kind of live.
He did the Brett Martin show.
The Brett Martin
Sunday,
show, yeah.
September 11th, and then the tagline was like something good's gonna happen this September 11th, which I thought was awesome. And it was good apparently. It
That's
was
why I
jammed out.
rememed it. Yeah, 'cause he put
I was
the-
out of town, but apparently it was really
Yeah,
dope.
the promo he did. Yeah, it was like and when is it happening? September 11th.
Yeah. But I heard it. Yeah, and a couple of friends went to it. Yeah, it went well. I think
awesome.
so.
That's cool. So hey, let's talk about this for a little bit. How did you get into comedy? What was your first foray into it? Like, how long have you been doing comedy now?
6.5 years.
6.5 years.
Yeah,
and how old are you now?
I'm 35.
35?
Yeah.
Okay.
getting up there.
So late 20s.
Yeah, started late. I think I'm so bad with like years and age, but I think I was 28 when I had just turned 29. Like I was 28 when I started.
Yeah.
29 right away. Yeah.
Now, what prompted this? Were you the funny guy at work and people prodded you, or was it like?
Yeah, I think I was like more. I moved a lot and I was pretty weird as a kid. So it was like I'm more like some people are just the class clown, like just going nuts, and I was more like I would just wait for my minute, but when I hit it, like it'd be like more. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But I think I
wasn't-
always loved stand up. It's that thing where you just wait and then you hit a joke like big time.
Yeah.
So I was more like that in school. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was an idiot. I don't know. If you ask people, I'm probably pretty weird. Did stupid things, yeah. But not like, hey, look at me. I would just wait for it. Yeah.
Where did you end up going to school? Where was that?
I went to school, like I grew up in Calgary. And then if you talk to people from Calgary and you're like, oh, I grew up in the Northeast in Temple, people were like, oh man. But it was not like, I always struggle with that because I grew up
rough
poor.
and tumble?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes?
But not like, there's way worse. Like there's way worse. So it's always relative. And I always like struggle with that to be like, oh, I grew up poor. But I mean, my parents, before we grew up, way more poor. So there's just, and then there's people in the world today that are, struggling with things. So it's tough to say, but relative. And man, compared to Vancouver, like super poor. Like,
Super poor, yeah.
no chance. Like worse than Surrey, kind of like, yeah. But it was an interesting upbringing. By high school, I would say there there wasn't as many like white people, which is the majority of Calgary in my grade, or like it just, the school was, not that many white people. So then that kind of, none of my best friends are white back in Calgary, not for any reason, but that's just how school worked. And then so I think that gave me a very interesting perspective though, to watch like what they kind of went through and being, in that context. It sucked being white because that was one thing all the races I felt had in common.
Said no one ever.
Yeah, I know. Except in that little context, they're like, God, they're always like, "Hey, man, you're the one cool white." That's all the thing the races could agree on is that white people suck. And then they're like, "You're the one cool one," but the rest, and you're like, "Shit, I don't know. I didn't mean to." But
It's weird that you can't even defend even jokingly the one like where you're like, yeah, when people agree, and it's like, well, I mean, white people are pretty good.
I
Like,
know, hey, man, we're
yeah.
doing some cool stuff.
Yeah.
But even I remember like being growing up and even in elementary, wishing like I was like, I wish I was a white. I don't know why. It was just because you just wish, I guess, what the majority is. But then as
Grass
we
is
kind
greener.
of, Yeah, I think. And then, but then
Congrats,
as we
dude.
went into like the, out of the high school thing into the greater society, you're like, oh man, being white's way better. Like just interacting and watching. Then, we couldn't get into any nightclub, nothing, just relentless thing. So it gave me, when I first started comedy in Calgary, that was like a lot of my jokes were like, man, fuck white people, which I thought was hilarious to go to small Alberta towns and scream that, and people were like, what's this guy doing? Like, you're white, you don't know it. But
I'm gonna title this clip. Chris Griffin goes on pro-white rant. You're like, geez, God, no, please.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, be one of our highest rated clips of all time. I imagine people be like, I'm just listening to this because I might not want to tell this guy.
Like, recent Yuk-Off champion. Yeah, that's striking while the hammer's hot there. The anvil. What? That just fucked this whole thing up.
It's fine.
Easy, Ricky. You fucked that one. So from the land of progressive thought in Alberta, you found yourself,
or one red state.
Yeah, one hard red state. You found yourself migrating west. When did that?
Yeah,
happen?
so that was about 3 years into comedy. So I started comedy in Calgary, and it was the scene there. I mean, I read some articles before that even the best art kind of comes out of the Bible Belt in the States, and I think that's very true. Like the more like overwhelming like suppression there is, the art that comes out of it will fight against it. So like it's
True.
just it's natural. Yeah. Whereas I mean Vancouver has its own thing too, but it's overall like a lot more liberal. So you have to get very creative or you can push further with your point. But just coming out of Alberta is like you gotta be. I mean. Also, you're playing not to your audience. If you're, more liberal or open-minded, you got to make them laugh, but also sneak your points in.
Right.
Generally, yeah. So
I think, with the exception of Chris Martin behind the boards right now, I think everyone in this room is not from Vancouver. He's rare that he's actually from here. Most of the time, you go into a room and you ask who's from Vancouver.
Yeah,
it's like 1 in 100.
Yeah, I know.
Like seriously, coming from Ontario, I found moving out here that. And I've mellowed right the fuck out from when I first moved here, but
thank God.
Yeah,
joking.
When I first moved here, though, I was pretty aggressive in like many facets of my life, but mostly like with ambition in the entertainment industry. You're like, oh, I want to jump to the top. Like I was in still am in music.
Yeah.
So I felt like, oh man, if I was like, everyone out here is so liberal and relaxed. I was like, that's going to give me a super advantageous competitive edge because I'm like, yesterday was 2 days too late. You know what I mean? Like, I want it now, that kind of thing. And it,
And
now I guess like looking back on it, it's like it was definitely like a huge advantage coming out here because there was a lot of people that were like very manana kind of attitude, like, oh well, we'll do this tomorrow. It's okay, relax. And it's like, no, tomorrow is 3 days too late.
But I also think the attitude here is they're like, hey, we'll do it tomorrow, but because we know, like, relax, like you don't have to fight for everything.
Yeah.
We're past that. Like we get. And I had to. It was a big adjustment when I came out here too, because in Calgary it's very like the same thing where you're like, man, hey, we're doing this, and even my comedy was like, fuck it, and dicks, and everyone's like, hey, like just talk about your life, and it really was a huge adjustment because by the time I'd moved 3 years into comedy in Calgary, I felt I was doing some things there. Like I ran the amateur nights at both the major clubs at different times, and like.
Is that how you got your start? And you were doing amateur? Were you hosting first?
No, starting comedy is like a big whole nother story that would take an hour to tell. But I don't know if you guys have heard of Tucker Max.
I'm going to tell you right now, the runtime for this show is 1 hour.
Yeah,
so
I know.
We
That's why
literally have enough time.
Oh, you have to just tell this one story? Yes. No, I can cut it short. But have you heard of Tucker Max? Or I hope they serve
Tucker Max, of course.
Yeah. So
now I have to say, I do actually own his books.
Yeah, everyone does, man. Yeah. It's in the airport.
It's one of those things that people will be like, oh, I flipped through them in the bookstore. It's like, fuck that. It's like, I own those. I own both his books.
I remember when I was like 24, 25, I was in university, and it was the first time I read a book, and I cried like uncontrolled, like laughing, and then I was like, this is hilarious. And then I kind of found him. He had his own forum, and messaged him there. Yeah. And then ended up doing some stuff for his network, and it was cool just have a sort of a direct link to him, like as a young kid.
So you were working directly with Tucker Max.
Eventually, he ended up making the movie out of his book. Yeah, and then when they made that movie, they premiered it in college campuses before it came out in theaters. So the movie did not being that great, but watching it happen, and when we were like, by that point I kind of, was in he had this like network thing, and I was in on that, not in the ground floor, but like the level right above, and then it was so cool to watch them go through the script and pick the direct, all that stuff, and then they ended up getting it made, and then so when he had the tour bus to premiere it in theaters before it was released, which was the craziest experience ever in my life, because it was like 400 people. We did like...
How old were you this time?
I was probably 28, I'd guess.
28,
yeah, maybe 27, 28. And then, it was like, we did like Times Square, New York, like Sunset, the ArcLight and Sunset, but we did all these other places too. And I got to see, so he was planning the tour, and I just wrote him like, hey, because he knew me from work, and I, edited some of his websites and stuff, not his, but his network. And I was like, hey man, can I come on the tour? Like, I'll just do whatever. And he's like, yeah, we need a driver and a gopher to do stuff. And then, so it was 10 of us on the tour bus. I drive the van that follows the tour bus. So if they need groceries or swag, you can't drive the tour bus to do. Yeah, I don't know.
You drove the kicker.
Is that what it's called?
Is that the name? Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that name out there.
Cool. I did that the whole time for freaking 2 months. I didn't know the name of it, but yeah. And then on that tour, there's an LA comedian, very funny, Bill Dawes, and this other guy from Philly, Ben Cornwood.
I think I know Bill Dawes, actually.
Oh, really? Yes.
Not personally, but I recognize the name anyway.
Yeah, it's very funny, and then he does a lot of other stuff too. And then so this guy from Philly, Ben Corman, was still a good friend of mine, but I haven't talked to him in a couple of years. I hope I miss him. But then at the time,
shout out to Ben.
Yeah, he's great, man. And we were just on tour, and we kept kind of asking Bill, and he's like, if you want to try stand-up, just try it. And I'd known somebody in Calgary, this lady, Denise Ross, shout out to her too, who used to be the manager at Yuk-Yuk. So I was just like, hey, I want to, and she'd always said, it was weird because I love stand-up since I remember being like 14, 15 years old practicing things. I'd never do it. Like, I'd be like, oh, I'll do it at the talent show. Never did it. And then, there's like, you got to try it. And then tried it. And first time I was like, man, this is the jam. Like, because I used to be a writer before, and I was pretty good at that, but the feedback loop wasn't enough for me. You publish something, you're like, do people like this? It's so lonely. You're just alone writing all the time and editing. Oh, man. And then comedy, I'm like, right away, good or bad.
It's a solitary life, especially because you can like write a novel. You can spend like a couple of years writing a novel, and then
George R. R. Martin.
Centuries.
Spend most of a decade writing
our
novel.
You can put so much into something like that, like a time sink, and then find at the end of it that actually everyone hates this.
Yeah,
and you're like,
or you don't know.
Fuck,
yeah,
and you're like, great, now I'm 2 years deep in this. Like, it's a
great.
weird process, right? Yeah, but whereas like you're right, the feedback loop is
it was just more immediate, more what I'm looking for. Like, I'd like to, and then you can live in the moment more. Like, like South Park has a very immediate feedback loop for like pop culture for what they do, and I think like that encourages the art they're looking at, and I like that that shows as close as you can get to something that's created that could be right on top of the pulse. But stand-up comedy is like the next hour. Like, it's like you could go talk about something that happened today, and then. So that for me was like, this is the thing, and I think I did my first set February 16th, and then it's hard, there's like a month. Like, I remember, man.
I think I did my set.
No,
February
I know 16th. I did. Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I'm 90% sure. I have a spreadsheet of my first like 500.
2 days after Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I know. Didn't get like 2%. But I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think it would be like 2010, and then. And then it's like it takes forever to get. There's only like one room a night in Calgary, and then you start to. But by that October, I just quit my job, and I was like, man, I'm gonna do this.
It's pretty bold.
That's beautiful.
And then I grew up like pretty poor, so I worked full time on night shift at university. I bought a condo when I was like, 19. Moved in when I was 20. And then
so it's a Calgary housing market. It must be nice.
Well, I mean, that was the crazy thing. And that, so this is before that happened, the oil boom. And then,
they just give houses when you graduate there.
Yeah,
like, here's your house.
Now they will. Yeah, but back there was a moment where it was almost as bad as here, where it's like you couldn't get a house. But then when I was 24, I think I bought a house.
That was Chris's way of telling you he worked for that C-Mart.
Yeah,
I dare you. He's like, actually, it was very expensive.
I did. I worked throughout high school, man. Full time, and it was not. And I didn't party that much. Like, I just worked all the time, and that's what like the newest bit I'm kind of working on is like. Then like the bit I try to sum it up as quick as I can, but it's like I got the degrees from university, bought a house when I was 24, paid for my degrees, cash, didn't party that much. And then I walked out of my house, and then I was like, looked at the car I owned, and I was like, what the girl I was going to marry, and then the dog on the lawn. And I looked in the sky, and I was like, man, I fucked up. Like, this is super boring. Like, I forgot to live my whole life. So then it's like, my whole life since then is like, what happens if you just go backwards? And I just went right into comedy, and I just toured losing money, like, big time for a couple of years, to where I was, there's nights I'd sleep in my car, like, nothing, and then sold my house, got, I was so far in debt that I'd made, because that oil boom happened. So the house I bought, the condo I bought, I think for $89,000, sold for like $110.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
But it was when I was 19. Yeah, and then I sold that for $110, and
Did
that
they
was
sell property for that anywhere in the world?
Yeah, and then the house I bought for $189 with a girl though, and sold it for $300-ish. But then I was so far in debt, and I just felt like I'd been shitty just doing comedy, so I gave her extra money, and then so I had pretty much enough to pay off my debts, and then maybe like $15,000. But after living where I was borrowing money from friends, I was like, thank God I have this money. Now I should be responsible with it. But I wasn't. I just went nuts. Like, just kept doing more comedy, and then moved here when I had almost no money left. But yeah, it's that was a tough move too. Like to
no
come
kidding.
Here, but
yeah, that's a tough move. When I moved out here, I didn't know a single soul.
Exactly. Yeah, I know a few. Like, I'd crossed paths, but I don't think there was anyone established in Vancouver that I was good friends with. Now I have some friends, but man, it was and then people were like, oh, this guy from, because in Calgary I think it was a decent, like, I was doing things, I'd put on a big theater show. I wasn't good, but I was, I'd show up every week and have good sets at least for 5 minutes, so I could walk in on a night and they'd be like, hey, do a spot, and then I moved to Vancouver and everyone's like, let's see what you got, and my best jokes were seriously like, and then I'm fucking addicts, and everyone's like, man, what the fuck, and then it was just
Too much.
yeah, and then like my friend,
this guy needs to mellow out.
Yeah, big time. And then you pretty much had to go back to
From Calgary?
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's one thing I still talk about, where I didn't realize pretty much the entirety of BC hates Alberta.
Well,
hates.
I think it's a fun love kind of thing, because we all gotta like.
Yeah, is it?
The reason yes is
from,
because Western Canada's got to stick together. We got the rest of this motherfucker with his like Eastern Canada, Central Canada, but this East Coast. Like,
it's all about me.
Yeah, we got Saskatchewan.
Just slow down there.
We got, the Western provinces, they got to stick together. So
that's good. Where are you from?
I'm from Edmonton.
Oh shit!
Yeah, Mike's from Edmonton.
Good.
You guys are actual enemies then.
No, I mean, when you come to BC, you're just friends.
Oh yeah.
You're like, let's put it all aside.
Yeah, okay.
The enemy of my enemy is my enemy.
Yeah. Okay. It becomes that, I think, out here.
But yeah, I like Alberta. It just you gotta rib them.
Yeah, even when I go back, I realize now. And I'm like, and then in Vancouver, when I first came out here, I'd try this joke where I'm like, it's okay to be a little bit racist, because you are a bit racist. Just don't pretend you're nothing. You're like, I don't have any of that in me.
I don't see color.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, you guys.
Recent Yuk-Off champion.
Back to the racist. No. But then,
Still
that bit
hates
well.
non-white people.
But it is such an awesome dichotomy to jump, because I still constantly go back and just jump in between. Because I had the choice of going to Toronto or Vancouver. That was in my head. And I'm like, I'm going to do one or the other.
Yeah.
And people were like, Toronto's where you go if you want to do like some TV stuff, Canadian TV. And then they're like, but if you can make the people laugh in Vancouver, you can make them laugh anywhere. Like, because it's like, it's not that they are PC, but they're also, more, they expect more. And they're like, I think, generally more open-minded. So it's like, you better bring something.
That's
and
right.
then,
There's just more like I'm sure you agree with this. Like, it forces you to be more creative here.
Yeah.
Because there's that element within the crowd that's willing to fight you tooth and nail on like, oh, you can't say that.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it's comedy.
And the
really.
best thing in comedy, the best type of joke ever, is where you don't say it, but you imply it and you make them laugh. Like, so then the thought goes in their head and they're like, hey, how'd you do that to me? But that's the best level of it.
Like, it's difficult to talk about this stuff without burning other comedians' bits and stuff like that. But some of the stuff I've heard in the city here where I'm like, that's beautiful. And that could only have existed in this area. Maybe like, the Cascadia, like Portland and San Francisco, maybe something like that.
Which is what I'm doing now, is that San Francisco comedy competition.
Oh, yeah.
So
nice.
I just did all last week, and I'm fly out, tomorrow to do the semifinals.
I've heard that's a good comp, man. I heard it's a good time.
Yeah, it is, but it's like vicious. Like it's like I did because I got the first night I went down for the opening prelims. I got first place the first night, and then generally in Canada that everyone.
Breaks.
Well, no, but that's the peak, and then it's all downhill. Yeah. But I was like, oh man, everyone's gonna be. I'm like, what a opening thing, and then people were just like, cool, like just nothing, like they're just like, fuck this guy from Canada, and I was like, oh man, like I'm only Canadian too. So then eventually, once I got like bottomed out and had a shit set, then everyone's like, hey man, how's it going? But I thought in Canada it's sort of the opposite. If you do really well, everyone would be like, hey, I'm whatever, like. But it was just that first night I just ended up drinking alone at this bar, and I watched all the comics go together, and then 3 days later, the girl was like, "Oh yeah, we all went to the bar across the street. That's the comics bar." And
trying to picture
but nobody told me that.
Yeah, watching like these saloon doors basically open and close
that's pretty much what it was like. I was like, "Oh man,
damn it, it's just me and the piano player."
Yeah, pretty much, man. But yeah, it was. But then that's a whole different level, and you kind of realize. I mean, the sensibilities, it's I think, cool. Not only in Vancouver, Canadian, like it's a different, you have the advantage of looking at the States, but you have the disadvantage of not living there and getting the thing.
Why do you think that is, that opposite reaction, whereas like, a great set gets a handshake in Canada and like, like a cheer up if you bomb or something like that. But then, why is that in San Francisco?
Yeah, I think it's just for the competition. I think generally if you crush, people are like, yeah, cool, man, but it's like, in the competition, people are like they view it like just the competitive nature.
Really seriously.
Yeah,
really seriously.
I was like, holy shit, because even I was just like, I'm happy to be here, like just coming in, like I don't know anyone, so.
They're like, we have to do with Donald Trump. This is not a fucking joke. And you're like,
I know.
Whoa.
I know.
Like, thought it was a joke, but
I'm like, and then I kind of got that, and it messed with my head, and now I'm excited to go back for the semis because then there's another week. So I was there 2 weeks ago. Then this last week was the second round, and then now it's the top 5 from each, so 10 competing, and it's got to get more intense. But I think now there's like a bit of a camaraderie where
I think it's for sure really.
Well, then you'll know
man.
where the bar is, right? So
yeah,
exactly.
I know.
That's a plus. That's a win
seems
already.
Crucial. Yeah.
You just show up there, walk right there right after your set. Don't even wait. You be the guy
that
they gather around.
The problem is it's San Fran comedy competition, but only the one night is there, and then it's like 3 hours, like towns. So people will be like, "Oh, I'm in whatever, Santa something," and like they know all the local references, and I'm just like, this is all the same to me. So I went to some town, and I'm like, "Oh, San Francisco." My best joke right now is like, I'm like, "Oh, I went to a gay bar, blah blah," and in San Fran, just crush. And then I go to these towns, and it's like old, rich, white people, and they're just like, no. Then you're like, well, I don't know what any of this is.
That joke wasn't fiscally sound.
Yeah. And then the one night I was in like a college campus thing, and the guy in I drew second spot, so it's pretty much like if you go bullet, you're kind of not gonna win because the audience isn't hype yet. I thought I had a good set. And then this guy in the audience was like, yeah, man, I thought you should have been top 3. And then he ended up being a bar owner, takes me to the bar, and it was just me and a couple other comics, and it was just like infinite, whatever you want, drinks. And then after he's like, well, go to this house party. He's like, real quick. And I was supposed to be these
house party. Sent no one.
But it ended up being quick for me because like we went in and then it was like I was supposed to meet these other 2 comics at the motel, and we're gonna split it. I was like, can I just crash on your floor? I'll chip in 3. And they're like, oh yeah, man, for sure. And then, but they're like, we're going now. And I'm like, I got to see this out. I got to do this. And then I went, and then the party we went to was just like all, like a lot of pit bulls and like neck tattoo guys. And then I was like, oh man, hey. And then, they cleared the tables off. And I'm like, board games? But no, it was other stuff. And then I was like, this is fucked. Like, I'm like, how am I here right now?
Everyone's in for Settlers, quick Settlers game.
Everybody, take 3 hours.
Rock a quick pandemic.
Yeah.
Let's do this, boys.
What's going on?
Yeah, it got nuts. And then so that night, I was like, the guy was like, we're leaving. Where are you staying? I'm like, at this motel. Went back. Lord. Now it's like 5 a.m. Those guys are gone. So I just was
way
like,
gone. And they just saw you leave with like a Latin king or something.
Yeah. So then I just
like, he will not be back.
I just gave up. I just slept on the bench, like just a park bench. And then the guys, thank God, had seen me sleeping. Or maybe I texted the guy. I'm like, I'm on this bench at this thing. And I just remember being like, Griffin!
Yeah.
And I was like, hey. And then the next day, everyone's like, heard you slept on a bench. Such a Canadian thing to do. I'm like, I don't think that's Canadian. I think I'm
most of the country you will die if you sleep on benches.
I'm like, that's not Canadian at all.
Yeah,
it was just less scary than Pitbull guys.
It harkens back to an old Canadian tradition.
Yeah.
Old bench ride.
And die.
Death
Dying.
due to the elements.
Yeah, I think that's why when I woke up and I was still alive, I was like, what? This is supposed to be the end of it.
We made it.
That was the most School of Tucker Max kind of thing I've ever heard. You're like, yeah, and then this owner of a bar was like, let's just go to a quick house party. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
Tucker thing is a very weird thing because I've never really talked about that, and people are always like, man, you should. But Tucker's a very easy guy. For me,
are you still in contact with him?
I could email him and he would, once in a while I would be like, hey man, for this, and he's very. The thing about Tucker that people don't know is he's extremely intelligent. Like if you go to his house, it's just like all
you
books.
have to be. I think anyone that underestimates that guy's intelligence is probably a little dumb themselves.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
And then people will be like, oh, he's such a douche. And I agree with like you could be like, yeah, he was 21 and then the big thing is like, oh, his stories are bullshit. And I don't know at all about his early stories, but I was there on the tour when he like got a girl blowing him, the X-ray tech. Friggin' with the thing's supposed to be on your skull for 1 second, and she's putting it on her brain for 30 seconds, and I think he had problems with his balls. So I saw like the stories happened at least on that tour. I saw it. Like
quick ball prob.
Yeah, but the one thing that Tugger did really influence me was because I think when people see him, everyone will be like, I'm the next Tucker Max. I can fuck all these bitches. I'm crazy. I get drunk. And that's not who I'm not him at all. He is an asshole in real life. No. Yeah, he is like an actual asshole in real life.
You're your own man. You're your own guy.
Yeah, and that's the message that people miss is like he just was an asshole and he's a narcissist and he has trouble feeling empathy for other people. But he embraced it and he's like, look, this is what my life is. This is how I feel. And then so people, instead of everyone that writes like, oh, I'm the next Tucker Max, you're like, you're an idiot. Be the next you. Like, be your thing. And then I think because I got that, that's sort of why he brought me in on his stuff. And then,
you have a good perception of all that, right? Because like, I think just saying something even like the next blank, that's a loss already. You're like,
I know. There's like I like being like I'm the next Kanye because it upsets people and people are like, what the? But then. That would be more like because I think he's a fucking great artist, but he just does some things that annoys people.
Right.
But fundamentally, his art output's the best. Like,
right.
I'm a fan. But then
I'm a fan too. I'm a producer, so like as a producer, I'm in awe of what he does.
Yeah, me too. So, but then that statement would be whatever. But these guys that are be like, I'm the next Tucker Max. It's just being like, bro, I'm just like you. But you're like, no, you're not. You haven't done anything. No. Like,
why? Because you read
the fact that
book.
You would say that already excludes you from what you want to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
And the thing is, like Tucker, he'll admit he's like, none of my stories are the crazy. People have way crazier stories, but like I wrote it down. I worked to make it funny, and I then did like we were saying before the show started. I think where it's like then he put in the 80% work of
just showing up,
promoting it, and consistently
doing it.
Yeah.
You're right. People that are working day jobs that are like, where's my goddamn podcast episode? They want it so badly.
I know.
And you're like, sorry guys, it was a long weekend or something, and they're like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you're like, you ruined my week. I'm unsubscribing. And you're like, hey, this is free.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm investing so much into this. And comedy's like that too, at open mics, and people will be like, not that funny. You're like, man, I sat in this storage room at work on my lunch break and after for 4 hours pacing around trying to make this. You don't know what's funny until it's on stage.
That's right.
You're like, it's not going to be, if you pay $20, I'll do my good joke.
I'll do a $20 set.
Those don't just happen. Like, sorry,
you came to the gym.
Mic. I know. You're watching the gym.
You came to the gym and watched me lift weights. Idiot.
Yeah. I'm eating these cold fries and terrible beer. Yeah. And I told you a few jokes. Sorry, they're bad.
I know.
It's not CrossFit, you fucks.
It'll be better next time. So
it's hilarious.
That said, though, I think like entertainment in general is like so much increasingly free.
Yeah.
I think that there is an expectation. Like,
not that is happening for sure.
And it's tough for artists making entertainment in all places because people are very entitled and they want what they want.
It's so true and it's sort of that entry level thing. But then you could take like a Mark Maron who did the podcast. Right. He was in right on the ground floor, but. And it's for free. It still is, unless you want the old episodes. But just it's like it opens a new door. So it's just a different economy now. But it's like if you establish, and then the free now that the bar set so high by things that are, sponsored products that are still essentially free, but, they're making ad money or whatever, is so high that to do like something like this, good production. But there's, podcasts where it's just a dude like, do you want to come do this? And you got like 4 listeners and you're like, what?
Yep.
Everyone starts somewhere, but
to be fair, we have 5.
Yeah, I know. I know. But I'll post
Sundays 6, but yeah.
6 listeners.
I'll post it at work. There'll be a few people more. Let's double it.
We've actually been doing we've been fiddling and messing around with live broadcasts the last little while.
Yeah.
We've been doing Facebook Live.
Oh, shit.
We get some pretty good responses on there, just mostly people complimenting Saavedra's camera work. But
yeah, that's awesome.
But
but even that, I see that come out now, and it's and certain people are jumping on that, and there's always that opportunity of just being and I suck at social media, like Instagram. My brain doesn't. I like deep and meaningful conversations. I find sometimes social media is very service level, but it doesn't have there's ways to do it where it could be anything. Yeah,
I hear you on that. There is kind of this lack of engagement, which is so odd considering what I was just saying with the live broadcast, because you can real time engage with someone.
But that'll pick up though. People will be like, man, and that's sort of people will see it and be like, these guys again, this is good. Let's jump in. Yeah, because most of the live broadcasts, it's some guy being crazy by himself.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Have you ever checked out man? The other day, I was cleaning out apps on my phone because I was like, man, it's running kind of slow. It's a brand. It's like a Galaxy S7 or whatever the fuck. And it's still slow. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm clearing out apps, and I was like, man, I have Periscope installed? What the fuck? Because I haven't been on Periscope since it came out, especially ever since Facebook Live and, Snapchat and all this other shit.
Is that the one just records your life?
It's the Twitter. It's like a sub-Twitter app of, Periscope. It's like
So live streaming.
Yeah.
Like live streaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Twitter, but live?
Yeah.
So I don't think you can, it doesn't record Facebook Live, does it?
It can. It saves it for 7 days.
Okay, so it's like a Snapchat-y thing.
Where
it's limited thing.
So,
you could murder someone on there and probably get away with
that. That would be dope.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be famous, that would be good.
I believe it's been done.
Well, which brings me
Damn it, the internet.
Which brings me to this, because when I was first introduced to Periscope, it was this rather new app, right? It has this new sheen to it.
Yeah.
And so it's oh, look at all the possibilities and stuff. I remember the first live stream I saw on Periscope was some rich guy was at a wedding reception and was like, oh, John Legend's playing this private party. And it's just him sitting at the foot of the piano, and he's watching John Legend. And I was like, this is fucking incredible. Oh my God, think of the windows of, So that was a year and a half ago, maybe, or something like that. I checked in this past week though, and it's seriously just gamer tag people that are just you guys want to watch me on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare? You guys want to join?
It's like Twitch, right?
I think they use Twitch now.
Twitch,
and I'm this is weird. But my favorite thing to do. Well, I've deleted it now, but
clean up.
Up until that point, though, there was an option where you could just select from a long list of feeds with names, and they'll be click here if you want to see me drink a beer or something like that, some stupid shit like that. And then, but then they added a map feature. So if you click the map, it'll just show you all the hot spots of where all these periscopes are going. So I'll click the craziest ones.
Actual submarine.
All the ones in Iran are crazy. Oh Lord,
yeah.
Because all the ones in
I
Iran.
was thinking the strippers. So stupid.
All the strippers. Yeah, some girl named Diamond. Clara. Clara Diamond. All the Iran feeds were these uber rich kids.
Like Saudi princes.
Sitting in the back of a Rolls Royce with the curtains. In the Bentley, how they don't have the covers. No need to tint a Rolls Royce. That's very tacky. You have curtains to pull or whatever. That kind of thing. And they'll just be whatever the fuck. You don't understand what they're saying, but you can interact with them. So I'll just be hello from Vancouver, and they'll be hello Vancouver. How's it going? And you're what the fuck?
Holy shit.
Yeah, so they're into it. So. Anyway, Periscope, weird time. What can I say?
Yeah, I feel I don't ever want to become an old guy. It's I can't keep up with the technologies, but it's just I think they're all it's coming. It's all getting better. Even though it seems like it's getting worse. It's all making the world better. Overall.
Is it just a matter of time before dash cams are just periscoped by
just
default.
24/7. Yeah, and you can see what this guy's doing.
Yeah, you're just like, hey, what is this police officer up to?
That's
like,
a good point.
I guarantee you
being an asshole.
That's
like,
GoPro next year.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's
That'll be live
probably really
streaming
gonna
forever.
happen.
well, like, yeah,
That's a pretty good.
with infinite space, like online, like
Because it'd just be going to the cloud, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't even record it. It would
Yeah.
just be streaming by default, like as part of the law. Like, because they have dash cams as part of like things. Like, why not?
Yeah,
like,
that's where it gets
have
creepy.
that-
It's like if you can't turn it off, then you're like,
Yeah.
well,
I know that
in the future.
like maybe they shouldn't be allowed to turn it off.
By the way,
dash cams.
when
Oh,
it's
not
like,
the cops.
when it's
but
like,
like,
yeah,
oh, as a
yeah,
person,
yeah,
if it's like
exactly.
you got to
No,
wear
you're
this all
right.
the time, then it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
I think police should definitely have to wear body cams and stuff. But when they're like, oh, it just goes to the cloud, it's a fucking guy's computer. It's
yeah,
not,
yeah. I
you
work
know-
for a tech company, and that's the biggest joke.
Yeah.
Like, there's no class. It's just another dude.
You know, yeah, it's
Well,
like-
it's a server somewhere.
Yeah,
Right?
It is a computer.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's like
yeah.
just giant servers that.
But like, I forget, there's something recently. It was kind of like, oh, we lost a whole bunch of dash cam footage. Oops.
Oops.
You're like,
yeah, you're like,
No,
what do
you
you mean?
didn't.
You're
like,
yeah.
No, you didn't.
What are the chances there's some
Natural,
fuckery
yeah.
in there? Or
Exactly, yeah.
it could be an error.
Very-
There are issues,
very
but however, I'm
short
like,
filter, yeah.
No, yeah. There's,
Doubtful.
There's enough redundancy
Doubtful.
and backups. So you're like, come on. Man. I know.
Like-
That's like Hillary's emails.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
vote Trump.
Let me.
Okay.
Hey, I thought we were
Well,
doing
that's
that.
the end of this show.
That's all the time we have. Yeah. We're here with Vancouver Yuk-Off Championship. Pro Trump supporter. Yeah.
Just ruined my
Yeah.
little career that I have here. Yeah.
You got a good thing going. Let's derail it like fucking crazy.
Yeah.
The start of the show is already kind of questionable. So
Let me ask you this though, because it's the turd sandwich and the giant douche. Basically, the choice is the South Park choice of candidates right now in the States, and we're Canadian. We don't really have a dog in that fight, but at the same time, it does have we have a vested
Profound.
interest.
Yeah,
Massive
So,
implication.
Yeah, I think as a world, like as a,
Right,
the whole
yes.
world,
Right,
like
so
Jesus.
it's
yeah.
funny when Americans are like, "Well, it doesn't even involve you." It's like it involves all
Everyone,
of us.
yeah,
Like,
right there.
Yeah, you're gonna
literally
be,
right there.
You're electing the next emperor of the world, basically. So like,
Yeah.
let me ask you this.
Empress.
Empress,
Yeah,
or
Empress.
emperor.
Hopefully,
Let's
yeah.
see what happens. Let me ask you this: what do you feel is going to happen? Your prediction, because we can look back on this in a couple months and be like,
Yeah.
Chris Griffin.
I know was
Master.
wrong. Yeah, I think and I have I'm way
50-50.
way too optimistic a lot of times in life, but I thought Bernie had it, and then or like it maybe would just save the
I
day.
thought
But that's
so
a very
too.
Vancouver. And when I'm down in the States, like I went in bars all around California, and it really is pretty close to that 50-50 where people will be like, yeah, but Hillary's corrupt as shit. Like we just want Trump, we just want something different. And they don't, and the media's, it's so hyper liberal the way it's spun throughout Canada, even the conservative ones where they'll point out Trump's all the shit he's saying
yeah.
and frame it in that context. But in the States, sometimes it's not. If people get their things from Fox News or from other sources, it's not as big of a joke as it's serious there. So
Yeah.
then, but I think
Which is
in
fucked.
life, yeah, it's nuts, man. People are for real, but I have enough hope, and even when Barack says that, when he's like, I have enough faith in the American people and in humanity that if it really, and sometimes you need this absolute, piece of shit or whatever he's doing to make people come together and be like, hey, we can fight about some stuff, but this is too crazy. And if it sways 51% against that 49, then that's enough.
Brexit happened, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Brexit,
yeah.
right?
Like,
Yeah.
that's
But I
complacency
think that-
in action.
Yeah,
That's true.
that happened. Yeah, that was
like,
complacent.
it's
So
just
now
like
it's
people-
like, man, and people are like, "Oh, Obama's so far up Hillary's ass now," but I'm like, he has to. Everyone's like,
Yeah,
we
like
better
you can't fuck
do
around
this.
anymore.
Yeah,
Like, it's
You know what's funny is I think the winner of the election, my prediction is I think it's going to be Chris Griffin, the way he expertly politically dodged the actual prediction.
Yeah,
of
I
that.
think Hillary will win. Yeah, I
Okay,
think
here
he'll-
we go.
He
He
said
says-
optimism at the start. Which has to imply.
I don't think Trump will win.
Here's the thing. He
could though, but
let's
I don't.
create a bit of a construct here. Let's of where we can just discuss this, just like rational Canadians, where obviously again none of us have any party affiliations or support here.
No.
Let's just discuss.
One of my
this real
degrees
quick.
is in political science, and I fucking hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Despised it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. No. Interesting.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So
That is interesting.
Here's what I feel like. So if you look back on say the last 24 years roughly in American political history, if you go back to just after Reagan and where Bush Sr. is in office, if you run through the presidents there, and if it's like Bush and then Clinton and then Bush, and then Bush for 8 years, and then Obama, and now possibly Clinton again. It bothers me that out of like those 24 years, 18 of them would be accounted for between two families. That's
right. That's super crazy. Yeah, and I think that's what Trump, like, people are being like, hey, it's something different. And then, but I've read articles too on like the Reagan administration, even Bush's, like how that level of Republican, like what it brings to the economy and to the work. But I think in the States, Trump just misrepresents the people that are just like, man, we're tired of these fucking people who screwed us over. And even if Trump wins and that's what it takes, like is imploding the biggest superpower in the world, because it'll go nuts. Like, and people are always like, it'll be great for comedy. It will, but it won't. Like, we'll all be dead.
The NASDAQ will fucking
It'd be funny until it's a war zone.
Yeah. It would be mayhem. But if that's what the world needs, to just be like, hey, we can't. If the people are getting so,
but stuff moves more slowly than that. I don't see it like, even if he were to get, like, there would be something like something that would be normal, but like it's not gonna like be civil war.
Chris Martin, master of prediction.
No, I don't think it'll fall apart like that. But then I really do.
But I mean, stuff does happen, right? I mean, like,
and all those parties are so intertwined, though. It's like comedy. If you go to the highest levels of Canadian comedy, it comes down to like 4 or 5 people, and you can get as mad as you want about trying to get where you get, but you just get good at what you do. And even Obama, you could be like, oh, but when Obama's like, I have enough faith, like he just didn't seem worried. And I really respect him. I don't even necessarily agree with all his policies, but as an intelligent person and somebody who worked to get where he's at, I'm like, if this dude's not worried, I'm not worried. It's like shitty comedy too. You can pander to like that, doing impressions like with puppets and shit, and people like that, but I don't know.
There's some Game of Thrones shit right there.
You
like,
get
Chris Griffin, hater of prop comedy.
Just like that.
Pull out a guitar, he's like, for fuck's sake.
Great.
He's a musical duo.
Like, all right, here we go.
No, some of that's good, but it's just
I'm just joking.
But I think Trump is really riling up people that are easily riled up.
The point I heard recently was that, and I hadn't really considered this before, but the one person was like polls are huge in the States, in terms of like understanding who's gonna in the lead per se or whatever. Right. But like people respond to polls when their party is winning.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. I'm like, oh, that's true. Like if you're like a Republican or whatever, and there's a big coup or Hillary fucking does something stupid, and then someone calls you and is like, hey, how are you voting? Like, yeah, fuck yeah, Republicans. Yeah. Great. But if your party's in the fucking ditch, and you're like, hey, are you gonna like are you voting Republican? Like, hang up. You know what I mean? And it's like, so it kind of like enthusiasm begets enthusiasm in regards to the polls, I think. And I hadn't really thought about that before, and I think that's actually true.
That's really true. It's where shame replaces enthusiasm. Yeah, that's really strange because like,
so it can be swingy,
right,
on paper,
right.
But I think Trump, like this whole buildup of just hysteria and all that stuff, it's great, but it's been more of a circus than ever. Like, it's never been like this.
It always is bigger than ever, right?
Yeah, it just keeps building. But I think it's the circus. It's gonna just fade into like, hey, this is the future of our country. And there's some people that legitimately are just so fed up with the establishment. I understand that. But then, I mean, is Trump gonna be the guy? And like, part of me thinks that Trump is just like, like I'm just fucking this thing. Sure. So,
that's the hope,
people
anyway.
will realize, But then, I don't know. I thought the sentiment. Just with Bernie, you're like, fuck, I thought he had so established with Hillary.
Like I know earlier we were saying like, party affiliations and all this stuff. Like, it's weird. I know Bernie was running as a Democrat, but it's like at no point did I ever think he was a Democrat.
Right,
it's like he was Bernie. Like he was Bernie Sanders. He was his own kind of guy.
Trump's not rebelling. Like he's running as a Republican, but I don't think he's even that. He's
exactly
just like, I'm Trump. And that would have been hilarious.
That's true. And that's almost the exact same thing. Where to the point where I was like showing people Bernie Sanders videos, and I was like, "What do you think of this guy? What do you think of the thoughts he's getting across? What do you think about how he's directing the people that are listening to him? What do you feel about that?" And a lot of the times, the reaction was, "Oh my God, I wish we had this in Canada. I wish we had someone like this." And then just see that kind of snuffed out just because. You know,
and then even on that, you got to consider like your perspective here in Vancouver. And that it is a very one of the most hyper liberal places in the world, and your mindset. So you'll embrace that. But then a lot of people in the States are like, he's promising all this stuff. It's not doable. And like that, Barack Obama was always like because people were like, you didn't do enough. I think he did amazing things in the constraints, and he's like that whole analogy where it's like turning a cruise ship. It's like
he said that on Marin.
Yeah, like 1 degree at a time or something like that, and then
I love that analogy. I think that's a beautiful metaphor.
Yeah, and then Hillary coming in, maybe he's like, look, this will be. And I think the Democrat versus Republican agenda, like you're talking the 2 degrees either way. Like it's not
in reality.
Nobody's like Trump's promising on cranking a left turn, but it's not gonna happen.
Right turn, technically.
Oh yeah, I guess. Shit, look at this guy.
Chris Martin with the absolute heat seeker. Damn. Jesus. Okay, let me ask you this, Chris Griffin. A lot of stuff happening in your career that's positive. Obviously, we've been talking about the Yuk-Off championship you just pulled off, which is awesome. What does your future hold? I know we talked a little bit about San Fran here.
So I'm in San Fran now. I have no
You're flying out like tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, yeah. So and like last night I went in. I work a day job, and I'm just like, please don't fire me. So I went in at midnight last night, and I've worked right till now. Like, man, I've been up. We're getting a long time, but
coming in hot.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm coming in, but it's San Fran's just it's you realize that it was great for me already because it's like you just see how big the comedy world and every little scene. Like we go to all these towns and every scene has like their guy that does this thing and the angry guy and like you're like man. So for me, it's like, what do you do to be unique in that context, like to differentiate yourself? And it always, for me, it's like, I think I've still got years of work. And I used to be a writer before comedy, and I'd write all the time. And one thing, like I said, when I did that, I was about 4 years into doing it. And I was like, could I do this every night for 10 years? I'm like, I can. And I know that's about how long it takes to get good at something. But I'm like, will I enjoy it? And then comedy, I'm like, man, I could do this like forever. So then I'm really like, I gotta this journey I love every day. Like even when it's shit and you're like, man, and it is sort of like you were saying with the politics, where it's like, when like with the polls, when if you're doing shit, people are hype on you. Like now, it got some shine and everyone's like, hey man, this and that. And then inevitably there'll be, you use that for whatever you can get. And then there'll be moments where you're like, man, I'm doing the same shit. I'm stuck. And you just have to continually like push yourself and reinvent. So it's nice now to be on that thing, but then going forward I don't even know, but it's it could. I'm
just trying to stay open to like things that are happening.
I just like I love the whole process of it because there's times like where I'd be like, man, I want this and this is not, and especially starting older, I used to panic about that. And there's still like fundamentally sometimes when it's not going well, I'll be like, man, what are you doing? Like you had a house, like you had everything, but then there's it more so you're just like, yeah, but you're getting closer to the thing you want to do. And
you weren't satisfied though. Like,
no, not at all. Yeah, and then now it's like, even if, I think of like, say I'm 45 and because that's the cool thing about comedy is that you could be great late. Like it doesn't, you just do it. And
like 10 years from now, like you could even say like the greatest comedians working right now are all pushing 50.
Yeah.
Right?
And they've man. And I get to open for Norm Macdonald in like first week in November in Calgary. Like
love
how
Norm.
Cool is that, man?
Yeah.
Like that's impossible. And like one of my old stories, like I texted the manager. I'm like, hey, Stanhope was sold out. I'm like, can I come stand in the back of the room? He's like, yeah, come on down. And then I walk in the door and they're like, go talk to Stanhope's manager. He's like, you're going to do 15 minutes and then bring up Doug?
Shut up, really?
And you're like, holy shit, like how does this happen? So
how was Doug? Was he
amazing? The
awesome? Best
dude. And all those guys, like Norm I've met briefly a few times, super cool. But the guys that are great, that are legitimately, era defining of comedy, I don't think they have any insecurities because they're just like, this is my jam. Like they're not worried about anyone. Stanhope he's not played any stadiums ever, but he would never care about that. And I kept saying to him, like, man, this is the cool, like I kept re-explaining the story. I'm like, I watch you on YouTube. I never even tried comedy. And now, I can't remember, I was probably, just before I moved, so 3.5 years in, and I'm like, or 3 years in, I'm like, I'm sitting here after opening for you, having drinks, and he's like, shut up, shut the fuck up. And then we went out.
It's like, okay, kid.
I know, he was like, calm down. But
patting you on the head like
I know. I'm like, I'm 32
child.
years old. I'm like, I'm a man. And then we went out for like, or you kept going out for a cigarette, and I was like, yeah, I'll go out. And then he's like, I smoke. He's like, do you even smoke? And because I was coughing.
Like,
I'm
now
like, no.
I do.
But I'm like, I'm going out with Doug Stanhope.
I'm smoking your brand too.
Yeah. I was smoking
like,
his cigarettes. Yeah. And then I was drinking a Heineken. I finished it and just smashed it on the ground. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, well, you'll never forget me now. And he's like,
he's like, well, we have to call the police. Like,
he was like that. He's like, don't ruin the club when you're smashing shit. I'm like, it's bigger than that, Doug. It's like, then when I see him again, I'll be like, I'm the guy, and he'd be like, oh yeah.
Chris, that was the greatest fucking stuff. Like the number of I don't know, in the music industry, the number of fucking people like shows, openers, and things like that, where you run into the headliner and they either have like some crazy attitude or ego, or they're the coolest fucking people ever. At no point in time in my entire history have I ever been like, you know what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna fucking make this guy never forget me.
just punch him in the solar plexus.
Just boom, punch him like Houdini. Boom, right in the gut, and then throw a bottle. You'll never forget me. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but he came through the I wasn't in town, but he was like, where's that fucking? Because he was in Calgary, and everyone's messaging me like, he's looking for you.
That is fucking so funny. Look at that. That's funny.
He's got an empty bottle ready to throw it at someone.
Yeah, I know. But he was super, super cool, man. And then like that gives me so much hope. Is that there's times I'll get petty and get my ego in it, but I'm like, if this is what you want to do, and there's people that use stand-up as a vehicle to get into acting or to do things, but
of course,
when I found it, I'm like, this is the thing, this is it. Like the other stuff's interesting, it's fun, I love doing it, but like stand-up, I don't know, it's just the thing. Like I'm like that, it's weird. But there's nothing else is as cool to me as that. Like,
you're natural as fuck at it. And obviously, things are going
it's getting better.
pretty well for you. I think things are going rad. Let me ask you this, sir. If people want to follow you online, how can they do so?
Man, add me on Facebook. That's the only thing.
Add Chris Griffin.
Yeah, seriously, if you do that, I don't have enough friends, because it caps at 5,000.
Like 54.
I'm at 1,500. I'm like, you got a lot of room.
A lot of room, boys.
Yeah.
Come on in.
I do like the Insta. It's like always at Christopher, like Gristopher, but I never do those.
Hilarious
things.
because C-Mart before he met you was like, can I call him
Griffin?
Griffin?
I wasn't sure. I assumed that you've had a bunch of like...
The flip... one of my friends flipped it once.
I actually vetoed it. I was like...
Yeah, you're like, don't say that.
Yeah.
I actually could feel it coming up. I was like, I'm going to ask. And then you already brought it up yourself.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah. I know people be like, they're like, oh, you're a good comedy name. Be like, Chris Riffin. Like, I'm just riffing. I'm like, I tell stories.
That's a little heavy-handed.
No, because then you'd have to improv everything.
I know, yeah.
Riffs and everything.
Those would be the worst shirts. The worst shirts. Nobody's buying this.
Yeah. But then the big thing that if I can plug myself is every Wednesday in Kits, I run Corduroy, like Cords Comedy at Corduroy. Yep. Yeah, 1943 Cornwall. And that's like, that room is has been sold out, pretty much right through summer.
Consistently, man.
Yeah, it's like 40 people in there.
I was just chatting with Sparling on the weekend, and he said he dropped in, was it last week when he came to Cords last week?
Yeah, he was there, And
he said he had a great fucking time. He had a super good time.
Yeah, it's wild in there. And like Maria Bamford popped in. Like, there's some cool... I want it to be that
Maria
thing
Bamford, just dropped in.
Yeah, I have like an open door because we can bring them right in the back door just for headliners. I mean, and even my good, like Dino Archie or these guys are in town doing amazing things elsewhere, and they'll just pop in and
Which is great, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so dope. So all those. Yeah.
It's a far cry from the one room town in Calgary, my friend.
I know. They have good, but it's always one room a night. But this one there's like 4 or 5. But that's is sort of the thing now. That's dope.
It's amazing. Cool, man. So we find you on Facebook just to clear this up, Christopher.
No, that's Instagram and Twitter. But I don't do any of those. But just go like Chris Griffin comedian. I think it's.
We're gonna have a chat after the show and work on your social media presence,
my
friend.
I need the help.
I'll help you.
It'll be in the show notes, I assume.
You're a friend of the show now. We got to sort you out.
Wicked, I need a float too.
We do need to get you a float.
Maybe that'll get me in there.
That's right.
Yeah,
it wouldn't hurt.
I'll live tweet I'll Periscope my float.
Sure, yeah.
Periscope
your float.
It's dark though, I think. You need your light on.
It's dark and it's a box.
Yeah. You and the Iranian kid I keep...
Oh yeah, we didn't even get into that.
There's Didgeridoo just going crazy in the back now. Saavedra, what is your... What was I saying? How people follow you, Saavedra?
You follow me at the Saavedra on Twitter and Michael A. Saavedra on Instagram.
Yeah, I was thinking about Christopher, and I threw my own head off. C-Mart, just running this by you here. If you want to, just a quick question. How can people follow you if they want?
It's not a thing. I wouldn't do it. Don't.
Wouldn't.
Man, I don't feel bad now.
Yeah. See, I represent the low bar so that everyone else can feel elevated. Yeah.
Which is weird, the reverse psychology of it, because people are always like, man, I want to follow C-Mart so
No
bad.
one's ever said that.
Everyone always says that.
Nope.
Yeah.
If you want to follow me, you can do so at MD_Boomsday. That's all across the board, Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and bliggity blue. And if you want to follow the podcast,
there you go,
ladies and gentlemen, the main event is actually Chris Griffin. But if you want to follow the podcast, please go ahead and check us out. We're on iTunes and YouTube and Stitcher and SoundCloud. Don't know how much longer we'll be on SoundCloud.
So I gotta ask, like, did you hear something? Because like they're doing reasonable stuff.
Rumblings about this and that. Mostly, I just don't want to deal with getting a new RSS feed. Because it's a cunt.
Because SoundCloud, they had some money trouble for a while.
And they did have a bit of money trouble. They certainly don't for me though, because I pay them every month.
Sure, yeah. But I thought they were doing. I actually looked into this, and I was like, I think.
Yeah, it's
as far as I know, they're still.
I don't know how much longer we'll be on there, only because
you don't like uploading.
Well, now that we're on YouTube and iTunes and Stitcher, I mean, that's if you're not covered by any of those, I mean, what the fuck?
Like, yeah, I don't know, but I like the SoundCloud player more.
I'll admit,
for myself.
SoundCloud was pretty nice to start off with, and I think we'll always probably have like an archive on there. But I just mean like it hasn't been for the long time, especially since the YouTube launch. We haven't had a. There has to be something to be said when you have like a 95% numbers drop on one platform. Like it's got to be represented somewhere. Like
what if
I'm
it's
like,
just for
dude,
me?
we went from doing a certain number, on SoundCloud to like just ghost town on SoundCloud. So as soon as we opened up these other avenues, so whatever it is. But if you want to do that, you can follow us at Intergalactic Interviews on Instagram, and you can go to intergalacticinterviews.com. Always check out all the past episodes and guests. Make sure you check out and follow friend of the show, Chris Griffin, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We love this guy. Actually, I gotta say, this is a hell of a debut. It's fucking.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Sometimes I forget to be funny, but it was like very interesting.
We'll find some funny parts.
Awesome. This was the Chris Jericho Y2J countdown of fucking debuts. This is amazing. Just top tier, memorable. Yeah. Okay, I think that's about it. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we have I think we have the lovely Baroness making her return to the show. The lovely, the talented, and other than that,
doesn't sound like a real person, by the way.
Fake person. No, she's a beautiful, lovely lady. I think that's about it. And we'll see you guys all next week. Say bye to these people, Chris Griffin.
Right. Thanks for listening. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Fantastic.